Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We provide fan-oriented and analytic discussions on a variety of animated shows, movies, and anime, currently featuring Steven Universe, Miraculous Ladybug, The New Powerpuff Girls, and Star vs. the Forces of Evil. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Delaney Stovall.
Hello.
And Sam Quattro.
Yo.
Today, Delaney, Sam, and I will be discussing the July 28th episode of Steven Universe, the highly anticipated Alone at Sea. We're covering every episode of Summer of Steven / Steven's Summer Adventures here on the Overly Animated Podcast. You can check us out at overlyanimated.com or search for the Overly Animated Podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher. We definitely want to get right into this one. Spoilers for this episode and all previous episodes of Steven Universe. However, no spoilers for future episodes. Okay. We got it. Alone at Sea. Number one, we got the Lapis episode. Number two, we got the Jasper episode. Number two, we got the Lapis and Jasper episode. Okay.
Holy crap, it all happened at once.
Yeah, what a surprise. Delaney, initial reactions to Alone at Sea.
I really liked it. It was kind of what I expected with, our first, for another Lapis out, episode, getting more of, snarky, how Lapis is, and, Lapis and Greg is, really funny, a little weird combination. And I think I need to watch this episode maybe a few more times to get my head completely wrapped around everything that happened, because I think this was kind of a shocking episode, and we'd made a lot of predictions about an episode like this, and I wasn't anticipating this. Haven't seen promos, Delaney doesn't know what's going on ever, and then the boat started rocking, and I was like, holy crap, it's Jasper.
As you were watching, you were not predicting that Jasper would appear.
Well, until, the boat, and then I was like, it's Jasper, oh no, and then it was actually Jasper, and I was even more shocked that it was actually Jasper. But really what shocked me was Lapis and Jasper interacting. I think they went away we weren't predicting. I think they did. I'm happy, kind of. They took two things, twisted it a little bit, but then they managed to handle both things. I don't know, it was interesting. Very short, though. I'm assuming we're going to see Jasper again, because we just keep launching Jasper, and then she swims back. So, I don't know.
Surprise, Jasper is not dead. Yeah, you liked it, though, yes.
Yes, the biggest surprise, Jasper wasn't dead. Yeah, I had to really rein myself in, because I was sitting there watching it with my family, and I couldn't just be like, oh, well, Jasper isn't dead, because they wouldn't laugh. So
I'd like to issue a formal correction. This podcast had previously stated that Jasper was definitely dead. Jasper is clearly not dead.
Not dead. Fine. She's fine.
She's also completely fine. That's okay.
She beat up a boat and then climbed onto the boat.
She may now, however, be dead after the end of the episode.
Right, we don't know.
So,
she might. So Jasper is MIA. We don't know where she is.
We just throw Jasper back into the ocean. Done with you.
Punched her back into the ocean.
Punch her back in the ocean. Sam, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, initial reactions to this episode.
So Jasper is a part of Team Rocket, is what I gathered from that.
She went blasting off.
We're just missing the little star at the end when she was blasting off. Yes. So let's see. What did I say to Dylan as soon as I finished? I said, "Whoa." It was a lot. I don't know. I can't help but focus on the last 4 to 3 minutes. Because that was when most of the stuff happened.
Usually people say that the opposite way, but yeah, okay.
What do you mean?
3 to 4 minutes, but
Okay, well, you know what?
It was a solid 5 minutes of just boat action and
yeah.
Let's fish for 90 seconds. Let's do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So long.
Well, I've never been fishing, but I assume that's accurate. Nope.
No, it is. It's 100% accurate.
I'm a city girl. I'll go fishing.
Yeah.
Anyway. Overall, the episode was good. Made me feel weird, but we'll talk about that when the time comes.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I was super nervous about this one. I've talked about this before. I trust how the show is going to handle almost everything, but this Lapis Jasper stuff, I was very worried. For the most part, they nailed it, for sure. And they turned this into a good direction. I think it was very good. The scenes were very powerful. This episode was very, it was powerful. It was, nerve-wracking and, interesting. And the themes they're doing are really interesting. It's a great portrayal of Lapis. I guess I wish that I didn't know Jasper was coming. you know.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I think that kind of ruined it for me.
Yeah, you shouldn't have had me
No
told you
idea.
less. Yeah, there's one screenshot with Jasper, so we knew Jasper was coming.
No, there were several.
Maybe there's several. I don't know. But,
I went and no,
Spoilers,
I went.
yeah, for the
I
record, Cartoon Network, their servers automatically take screenshots of the episode every minute, so we'll just see random things, and they upload it to their servers, and then people.
Yeah, I
comment.
looked on the spoiler tag, and there was just like a plethora.
Well, there's also I'm not sure what and if it ended up being real or not. Jasper spoilers. We'll have to go back and check that out. But yeah, it's I don't know. A lot of complex stuff in this episode. This isn't the lead at all, and I think it's interesting. These big episodes, we don't actually end up discussing that much whether the episode was good or not. And this isn't my main takeaway, but I do think that this episode was too on the nose with its metaphor with Jasper and Lapis. I don't think it necessarily made for great storytelling to just say super general things about kind of the obvious comparison you're trying to make at the end. So I think it was like too on the nose. The show does this a lot. So I think it's like not the best episode of Summer of Steven. It was obviously very good and powerful and stuff like that. But we need to get more into the Lapis Jasper dynamic. So, okay, let's talk about this. The big thing I was worried about was that they're going to go and check out our previous like roundtables and stuff like this, our Lapis roundtable, I think, and all this stuff. I was really worried they're going to go with this Lapis I liked being fused with Jasper thing, and they did. And that's interesting. But they also went with Lapis, the Lapis saying, oh, this is unhealthy, rejecting this, Steven being a great friend and supporter, and and they go with her ultimately not like going back into the situation. So the obvious comparison always with Lapis and Jasper is to an abusive relationship. And it's different because, as they hit on in this episode, Lapis took like charge and as a response to being abused, kind of like flipped the script and held Jasper captive in this fusion. And we kind of talk about this in kind of a more eloquent and interesting way than I thought we'd get to. Basically at the end, we basically get the come back with me. We were better together, and Lapis says, no, this was an unhealthy situation. I'm not going back to this abusive relationship. And yeah, that's basically where you go. It was a little bit interesting for me to go from, and this is the kind of, I think this is what Sam was talking about, like the two different things. This is like, it was a little bit jarring to me to go from, I actually liked being fused with you, to us doing the I'm rejecting the abusive relationship thing at the end. It's a little bit hard for me to take in right now. Just having seen the episode for the first time. Is that what you were talking about, Sam?
Yeah, and sort of there was a point like when Lapis was saying I missed Jasper, and Steven was like, what? Like that was when I started to feel like really weird and really like uncomfortable is a good word for how I felt. But
yeah, from that moment until the their discussion until it turns kind of is like one thing and then it's another thing. And I think that's what they're going for. They're going for kind of this like overcoming these feelings type thing, and like with support, recognizing it was a bad situation. It's a clear metaphor for an abusive relationship, except when we bring in the Lapis, you were also terrible in this situation. And then I'm not sure what the meaning is supposed to be when we get to those parts.
Well, I mean, no, I think it's realistic. It's not necessarily in specifically an abusive relationship kind of standpoint, but like, and I think the reason you guys kind of like, I don't know, for me, Lapis hasn't always been this perfect being in my mind. This wasn't too jarring for me. I'm glad they went this way because one, like, this is honestly the only way they could have spun it, and I think in a way, like, I can't imagine the scene going away that it wasn't as eloquently, like, well, like, executed as it was.
Right,
like,
so they've never presented Lapis as this perfect being, and that's not how I thought of her. When I say jarring, it's not through like Lapis is great.
Well,
Lapis
I
is
think
bad.
it's people. It's really easy to look at like how Lapis acts and then not be able to like really combine that with Lapis is arguably the most powerful gem we know. She is ridiculously powerful, has a lot of ability. Like, she has so much power at her literal fingertips. And like, I think it's really, people in the fandom tend to diminish that, and that I think they really did approach this in like the best possible way. And that, and this happens in real life. Like, people, like, I had a very toxic friendship breakaway very recently, and this is real. This is what happens. Like, you have to be, like, people have to be able to recognize too. It's like, you know, our heroes aren't perfect. They have flaws, and also this is the first time we're really exploring Lapis having flaws beyond people being like, oh, Lapis is rude because she didn't immediately forgive Peridot. Like, we're actually exploring this real, like, and the thing was too is we, like, yes, we only have the pieces they presented to us in the show. And it's this,
So
like,
yeah. Well, you catch your thoughts. Like, so there's like, there's kind of two things here. There's these two dynamics, and I want to try to merge them because I don't have them merged into my head.
Well, we didn't have the full picture of Malachite. That's what I was going to get at.
So
like,
we don't have the yes.
We only had so many pieces. Like, I'm glad they went this way, and that we could, because it fills in the blanks a little bit more securely than.
We had no idea Lapis at all felt this way. This has been something fans of this IMO toxic ship had been putting in their fanfics, but this is not something that the show had been presented. So here's these two things, like these two dichotomies that I need to try to reconcile in my head. There's number one, and the jarring thing is, this is what I'm talking about in the beginning, is this two themes, this two kind of metaphors, or two things to talk about. Number one is the clear abusive relationship metaphor at the end, and overcoming a toxic situation. If you take issue with my use of abusive, as people have before, then which I think you're wrong, but you can ignore this. You can just replace it with toxic relationship, which I think is probably more accurate with the way they present it in this episode. Overcoming that toxic relationship and not going back to it. That's clearly what we're doing at the end. Versus this, I liked being with Jasper. Like, I liked being, it was more powerful, and I liked being in that. And I think that they go together. But it's very,
yes, definitely.
It was very tonally jarring. Like, and it was kind of two different things that they clearly wanted to put together. So that's number one. And number two is like the whole Lapis was being abused by Jasper versus the Lapis also was at fault in what happened. And I think they're probably more successful with this first thing that we talked about, with the abusive versus I want to be in that relationship, or the draws of going back to a toxic place. I'm not entirely sure what the point is of, and it's I do think that they didn't want to like make it a point because it's too complex for that. But like, how am I supposed to feel about Lapis? I just think that they didn't present enough of this Lapis was also at fault here part of it. It was just very brief to me, and like, this isn't something the show in large part had talked about. This is something fans talk about a lot. I just don't think this is something the show had. So it was very fast to me, and I'm kind of like, what am I supposed to feel about this? What was the point of Jasper bringing this up? Was this just something to hold over her head? Like, to a certain extent, I actually think this episode kind of like absolves Lapis of any problematic behavior the fandom has accused her of. The way Jasper comes off in this episode is of the abusive boyfriend who says, you were bad to me too, you hit me back, type of thing. To a certain extent, it boils down to that, and it doesn't even seem like she did anything wrong.
I would disagree with that, and really in the beginning, especially with Jasper, like how they presented Jasper, and specifically in this episode, is Jasper is presented as the weaker one. Like, yes, Jasper keeps threatening Steven, but it's obviously in this like lashing out. Like, Jasper is begging Lapis. Like, Lapis has all the power in this situation, which is what makes it really interesting. That honestly, I think that's what this scene does really well, is that this is the display. This is the showing what they failed to do before, because, and that's, we have seen so very little of Lapis. Like, this is going to be one of the episodes that defines Lapis, and we're just now getting it, and it's this, and like, we have this power display and the shift of their dynamic that, so. Well, I think a lot of it too, like, we see them fighting before in Malachite, but ultimately we know Lapis wins. Like, that's in the initial Malachite, Lapis wins, and they're stuck in the ocean, and we know they're fighting. And then I think later it was just a lot of assumptions on the Phantom's part and this kind of like mentality that Jasper, and then of course we have, Malachite fighting the Gems, and that's, they're going back and forth. But I do think here, like, this is the confirming of like Lapis is like, I'm not going to say complicit, that's different, but like Lapis, like she has the power in this situation, and then she says no, and then Jasper's like, and then gets punched into the ocean.
Right. So it's interesting. So from like if you step back, so first of all, I want to say this is tough stuff. This is complex stuff the show's presenting, and
they're doing a lot right now in this like one episode.
They're doing a lot. Also we're analyzing this like very quickly, and this is a lot for us. If I say something you think is objectionable, consider that I'm not pre-planning it or thinking about it before, and we're just trying to offhand analyze the episode. So I agree. The Lapis, I think herself tries to convince us that she was potentially even more at fault for keeping Jasper lock her up. Like she had bad behavior. She's not a good person. She tries to tell us this in the episode.
Well, I think that's part of it, is that's the thing, like that's what the show kind of, this might have been purposeful. I don't know exactly how much planning and such was gone into this all, but you have this, at every point where Lapis doesn't talk, we fill in the blanks, and the audience thinks, and Steven thinks that, Lapis is very traumatized. That's a fact. And this, and you're filling in all the blanks about how like Lapis just feels so endangered and like is uncomfortable. They're in the ocean, and the entire episode, Steven's, this, and then finally she's just like, no, that's not why I'm this way. It's because the guilt and everything that's eating her up inside. And I think that might have been very purposeful, is these making us fill in the blanks when in fact.
Yeah,
it might have been a purposeful misdirect.
One thing and you talked about this before, one thing we're going to talk about is, in my opinion, the show hasn't done enough with Lapis to get to this moment. Right. I don't think we've had enough build up. So I'll talk about that soon. But I think that the part of this episode, like, so we have the last 6 minutes where stuff actually happens. Like 3 minutes of that, I think, is spent with Lapis trying to convince us that she's not a good person. But right. I think that's negated by the last 3 minutes, because in comes Jasper. Jasper's presented in this episode as the stalker ex-boyfriend type of person, and it's a stalker abusive, like, and it's Lapis, like, is, I think, is kind of absolved with Jasper, like, taunting her and wanting to get back together with her because of, like, using her actions as, like, I think you did this. Like, the only reason, like, you can interpret it as Lapis thinks she did this because she was in this bad space and was, like, it's like the equivalent of the woman who's been convinced through this terrible, like, verbal abuse, this, like, gaslighting type thing, that she's equally at fault here. I think that's kind of how it comes across to me at the end of the episode. Again, this is initial reaction, but I think they present Jasper in such an over-the-top way that we're kind of presenting this as an unhealthy mentality from Lapis rather than like an objective viewing of her faults.
I think that's how it's maybe presented. I don't know. Like, I didn't read it that way. To me, like, I don't agree. This doesn't absolve Lapis. Like, this is a complicated thing, and Lapis is dealing with it in an adult and mature way, how everyone should deal with when they've done something, when they've made a mistake. And of course, Lapis was in an impossible situation. Like, it was like, we have to save the Earth, and I have to, like, do this to, like, I mean, it's an impossible thing. Like, it's the whole, like, save one life versus millions, like, conundrum, and like it's an impossible situation. But this doesn't absolve Lapis. It's just Lapis confronting in a mature adult way what happened, and I think that's honestly why this is the best way they did this, because they didn't turn, like, they're not making it this Jasper's the worst thing ever in the universe and Lapis, like, it's not equal either, but they're playing it with it in a realistic way, because they have presented Lapis participated. Lapis did what she felt she had to do to protect Steven and the Earth. This was the result.
Let's flip the script on this. Okay, so there's another way to look at this, which is that we're equally being presented with Jasper, the effects that came on Jasper from this toxic relationship.
And like Jasper was smiling the whole time, and it was terrifying, for the record. Like, her presentation in this episode is like, I'm really uncomfortable with how Jasper's looking at me right now.
So I apologize if I don't present this right. This isn't really how I read the episode. I now, thinking about it, see this as a possible interpretation.
They're doing both things, and they're going to bring Jasper back later, and we're going to deal with this more, I feel like.
So
like,
let
obviously,
me,
we're going to keep throwing Jasper.
let me present the kind of like the Jasper was also abused kind of side of what might be happening. We Jasper's kind of presented as like this unstable, stalking person who wants to reconcile the relationship. It's possible that is a behavior that was resulted upon from her being imposed on by Lapis in the fusion. And like kind of the unstableness of Jasper, and it's like, I've changed, I've done all this, and it's all because of you kind of type thing, could almost be seen as this other side of them both being at fault, them both being in this bad place and trying to kind of reconcile it with each other. And then to both trying to like having to deal with the fallout of the toxic place from, so I don't know, Delaney, how much did you read that side of things from this episode?
I read a lot of that, because to me that's why I think they handled this well, because they didn't just go this one. We have no pieces of this Malachite. Like, honestly, when you think about it, like everyone being like Jasper doing all this stuff to Lapis, all we see aside from when Malachite attacks the gyms is Lapis in control. And the dream, I guess, when like Lapis struggling to keep Jasper under control. And I think it's just so easy because of Jasper's character to be like, well, Jasper deserves it. Whatever, Lapis is just doing what she has to be. Jasper's just this monster. But and of course, as Steven Universe does, Steven Universe reminds us that Jasper's a gem. She's still a person. Like, and we're seeing the effects finally. Like, it's not just Lapis. We're seeing what this fusion did to both of them, because even though it was messed up and this was like all kinds of wrong for a fusion, we're seeing like fusion affects both of them. It takes two people to fuse, and this is what we're seeing. And that's that's what they presented Jasper as. She's unhinged and off and smiling the whole time, which is like really weird. And, begging Lapis to take her back and being like, I've changed. Like, that's what? Why did Jasper say that? That is so weird. And then, of course, Lapis is like, nope, we're not doing this. This is bad for both of us. Like, that is like the most mature way to handle this situation. And it's like, I'm very pleased with it. And I'm hoping we'll get more to it later, because I'm assuming Jasper comes crawling back at some point once she, swims back.
We'll talk about the possible Jasper return. Yeah, so I'm thinking about this as we're going. My opinion's liable to evolve. Right now, I don't think I interpreted.
I think it's it's really easy. Like, I don't have the connection to Lapis everyone else seems to have. Like, I've never been the super Lapis fangirl, and because it doesn't matter whatever. How, like, if you really like a character, you're gonna try and see, like, you're gonna read a scene differently than someone who doesn't. And for me, it was very much this Jasper, like. That's what was interesting about the scene, and granted, of course, everything Lapis said, being like, no.
So, okay, I'm gonna bring some other elements into this, and maybe this absolves me of an earlier problematic statement. But I apologize if I say anything wrong. Again, this is tough subject, also tough to approach.
This is really complicated. A lot happened in like 6 minutes, and
so I'm not saying anything.
Tough to approach as a male with this. So let's bring this into this. I look at what happened, and I saw the abusive ex-boyfriend and kind of the abused woman, and that's not what this is. This is two female presenting characters, and that changes things. Like, I look at this and I can't get past my societal perception of what's happening here. Like, and I think that's a fault of mine. I think it's a result of me seeing gender too much associated with like femininity and masculinity, and this is not good. But like this is the situation where with the WNBA player, and with her wife, and like one of them is like abused, or like what's going on, and how do our traditional gender expectations fit into this female dynamic is my reading of the scene too based off of something that actually doesn't apply here. I think this is a big thing that also comes into play, and I don't know how to handle that. Like, it's too much for me to analyze right now.
Well, I think it's different, and like it's also like, you've never had a woman-to-woman relationship, Dylan, because you're not a woman, and it's fine. You can't help it. And I've had toxic friendships that they break down like this. Like this is how we, and of course, granted, they never depict things like this on television correctly, of course, because, you know, heaven forbid you have two women who like actually talk about something that doesn't involve a man, you know. So like this is like so realistic. It was so done very maturely, and it was just adult, and I'm so happy with it. And I know people are gonna be mad about this because this whole like, and I think other people had the, you know, regardless, you know, of how they like, you know, non-binary, however they identify, you know, gender-wise, they're going to see this, like, they will have read the entirety of, you know, the past season and a half of, you know, this Jasper's the abuser and Lapis is the victim, but we're getting here and that's not the case. Out of Lapis's own mouth, it's not what it was.
Well, okay, yeah. So I think that's like not a good way to present it. I do think the episode potentially puts that up. Lapis is, again, it could be the dynamic of Lapis is like has been influenced by this bad place and is like her mentality on. It's not like Lapis is presenting objective fact here.
Well, the thing is though, we're not going to get objective fact, period, right. Because the only two people who were there were Jasper and Lapis, and we're not going to see any more of that. Like if they ever fuse again, it's going to be different because it's not how it was when they were trapped in the ocean, which I really hope they don't ever fuse again, but who knows? I don't know how the show's going to go.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also we also have to look at it this way that, I mean, not that I necessarily think this is true. This is how Lapis sees things. Like in Lapis's mind, Lapis was the abuser. And
maybe, yeah. At the very least, she was significantly at fault, and she's choosing to focus on that. Yeah.
And granted, that thing, like, that doesn't make, my thing is that doesn't make it any less valid. And I do think people, like, this is gonna uproar in the fandom, but they're like, they both struggled to, like, they were fighting for power. Like, this obviously, I think people it was just so easy to blame Jasper for everything because Jasper's the reason they fused in the first place and all this nonsense happened. But it's like that's not how fusion works, and we know Lapis kept them under lock and key, and it's just I don't know. I think people are going to apply a simple label to a situation that we don't fully understand, and it's complicated because this isn't just one with power over the other. It was they went back and forth, and it was damaging to both of them, and we're just now seeing what it did to Jasper.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, I have one more point on that, and like, it's so dependent on what people's perspectives are bringing to it. Me saying something like I'm about to say doesn't mean I'm right. I think that both of our perspectives on this are not like right. Like I think that like people are going to interpret it how they may. That being said, It's possible your perspective is right. Like I don't know, but that my initial reaction is this scene is kind of made in a way to have people interpret things differently and apply it to different. I don't know. It's hard. So one last thing is my question is like, okay, if this scene is presenting this both at fault type thing and like they both just need to get out of this toxic relationship, is this like an unfair ending for Jasper because the resolution is to punch Jasper into the sea? I almost feel like the show can't be presenting it as like a both equally at fault if we're just going to punch Jasper into the sea, unless it wants to have the moral of, you know, like things aren't fair or something like that. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's gonna, like, one, I'm confident Jasper's coming back, and this is gonna be the end of Jasper, and we're already.
I think she's dead, but.
You think she's dead? Yeah. Well, we're inching towards that. We had made predictions about what Jasper and Lapis's relationship could go towards, or, you know, what, like, when they meet again, what could happen, and, you know, Jasper's relationship with the crystal gems. And okay, Jasper literally was just gonna beat Steven to a pulp the whole time. But we have this scene. Jasper has. I mean, obviously it was still from this idea of, like, we're stronger together, but then there was also Jasper, we could fly. That line to me wasn't so much a strategic thing as, like, this wonder at being able to fly. And this also, like, Jasper just, like, this wasn't Jasper's, like, and it wasn't just in, like, her dialogue. Jasper's changed a little bit. Not a lot, but a little. Enough to come, you know, to follow Lapis and be like, we should fuse again. And be like, no, like, what? So, I mean, we're going to deal with more. I don't think it was necessarily, like, obviously she had to punch her off because she was going to beat Steven up.
So
but
it's kind of a thing, those, yeah.
Yeah, like that's the. I mean, I understand. And
Jasper was clearly acting awful at the end. Like, let's not
yes,
even
obviously.
under Delaney's interpretation, Jasper was still acting.
Yeah, no,
awful.
Jasper's being terrible. Jasper deserved to get punched off the boat. She was going to beat Steven up, was being mean to Lapis. Like, Jasper, like, whatever, like, what I was saying about, like, I'm not trying to absolve Jasper of involvement. No, they're both involved, and, like, that's, and it's, and of course the whole reason this happened was because Jasper was being forceful and was doing this, this, and this, and to get at Lapis, and then Lapis was finally like, no, and then punched her off the boat. And I think Lapis acted understandably, and Jasper deserved to get punched off the boat because one, she pushed Steven. She already deserved to get punched for doing that first, and then she was just gonna go and beat Steven up. So it was fair to punch her off the boat because, and also Jasper's like this giant gym and just like rams things with her head. Like, yeah, no, get her off the boat. But obviously Jasper isn't dead. That fall didn't kill her. Jasper's dead. But we're gonna, like, she's gonna come back. It's just, I don't think it was necessarily unfair to Jasper's character. I think the fandom's going to be unfair to Jasper's character in the long run. But we'll have to see what happens. Like,
I don't know. There's a lot of Jasper defenders in the
We're not done with Jasper. I'm not.
For
I don't.
Sure, yeah.
I'm not defending either. I don't care. I'm just reading it how I read it. Like, this is, I think this is very interesting, and we're going to see more of Jasper and Lapis and what that evolves into, and I'm really interested to see what they do with it, because we're dealing with, I think, finally a realistic, like, portrayal of how adults should deal with things, because often they don't deal with things correctly, but I thought how Lapis reacted was mature, and what she should have done, punching off boats aside.
Yeah. I mean, I'm interested to see how the scene's interpreted. I don't know if Sam wants to get on anything. Probably.
This is making me rather uncomfortable looking at it from the perspective of my personal life, so I'm sitting it out.
I think that's. I think this is going to be a very personal reaction to this. As of right now, I think I'm like not capable of seeing this differently than how I am, and I think that you could interpret this as like faults of Dylan and stuff like that. I'll think about this a lot. And
well, it has to do with your life situation.
Yeah, right. And I think that's kind of the point of the scene too. Is like I think they're trying to present it in a way that's like intentionally complex
and really vague.
Yeah, I worry that being too vague, it'll mean bad things to some people. I think that's a worry for sure. That's kind of was my initial worry with Lapis saying things like, I liked it. Like, I don't know. To the right people, this is going to mean a lot, I guess. So
it's like, it means a great deal to me for things I've gone through in the past year. Like, this was it was done very well, in my opinion. And I think we'll just have to see what happens.
Okay, quickly. I'm going to read some asks I've gotten. I bet none of them are about our entire discussion here.
Probably.
Well, that episode was so good. The show always touches on so many things, like how even if you're familiar with someone and miss someone, it isn't worth going back, especially if the relationship is unhealthy. That's one thing that I think the episode is clearly presenting is like unhealthy relationships. This was no
bueno, not good.
That's unambiguous. Next ask, Anonymous again. I'm so glad they touched more on Lapis's mental aftermath of Malachite. Even though she knew the fusion was terrible and unhealthy, she still, in her own way, missed Jasper so good, and Lapis standing up for herself at the end was awesome. I'd say this is my one thing I'm not sold on is Lapis having to say that, I miss Jasper. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, it makes sense in this idea of, like, look at, like, for example, okay, you have this situation where Lapis, she's forced to, like,
I understand where it's coming from. I don't think I need that explained. But
I think because Lapis has so much power, and I think that's honestly this is something that doesn't get touched on. But this side of power corrupts absolutely, and this going towards it, like, yeah, being in power, being in charge feels good. Yeah, no, it does, and this, like, I think I'm glad they touched on it in the way they did, and like we're not going to get more from it, I don't think, but the way I think it makes sense. Given and obviously it's Lapis is like and like dealing with that, like feeling that way, but then also being like, that's not good, like check yourself. No, like that's what everyone should do always. Like, you have a problem, you feel or think something, you're like, no, I shouldn't do that. Good, check yourself. Good stuff.
I think there's my two problems are, one, we just say it and we haven't really done a lot with it before. Right. I don't think we had enough with Lapis before this to like kind of get to this place.
Well, period. We haven't enough with Lapis at all. Like, period. And we're like complicated things with her.
So that's my my one issue with it. Two is like how people are going to react to it, which isn't like what the show, Yeah.
Right.
So,
That's with anything. That's with anything that always happens on the show.
Yeah.
So
Next anonymous. Lapis is literally now my favorite character. She's so complex, and on top of that, she's a crazy strong gem. Literally in love with her. Thank you for joining the Lapis Fan Club. I will accept your membership at Lapis Fan Club at lapisfanclub.net. No. We'll see if that's registered. I don't know. Anonymous.
No, it probably isn't.
I don't think so. Anonymous says Jasper is a literal creep. She was swimming for who knows how long to look for Lapis.
Yes.
And it seems like after being fused for so long, they have a mental link. Lapis seemed like she recognized something related to Jasper when she was fishing in the Real Broke, and Jasper had to be going by some connection or instinct in order to find Lapis. Yeah, agreed.
This is a good point. And yeah, no, Jasper was super weird and creepy in this episode. Like, that's 100% accurate. Yeah.
Anonymous says, I loved how Steven tried protecting Lapis and was literally tossed aside like he was nothing. Plus, Jasper's whole conversation with Lapis was interesting, especially her calling Lapis a monster. Very interesting, and I think there's more to Lapis than we may know.
Yes.
I do want to emphasize, even under Delaney's interpretation, Lapis is not one acting badly in the current state. Jasper's acting horribly, and Lapis is doing
Jasper's
everything she
terrible.
can to act great. So, like,
I'm
previous
not
actions
defending
aside.
either character. I'm just reading it a very different way than Dylan is.
Right.
Well, it's also very different. Honestly, to me, it's two sides of the same coin. Like, these are...
I do think so.
It's just the scene. Like, it's just, like...
And the Teen of Steel says, will we see our big cheese puff again? Probably not, but I hope so. I think probably yes. I think probably. Will we see cheese puff again in the current season? No, I think.
I think she's coming back.
She could be in the finale, but that's gonna be like, I don't know. I guess when Yellow Diamond comes, if that's what's happening, that's just speculation, by the way. That's not spoiler.
I want to know how she got out from like the Earth's crust.
Yeah, no,
into the ocean.
She clearly just fell into the ocean. Didn't you know that's how the planet
that
works?
That isn't how it works.
I'm joking, Sam. Obviously,
the
that's
crust
not
connects to the ocean, and then she swam
out.
And yeah, I guess if Yellow Diamond's coming, then we know Yellow Diamond's looking for Jasper, so maybe Yellow Diamond comes and retrieves Jasper, and then
whenever the movies come back from.
And then
was it Neptune?
Yellow Diamond's like, Jasper, fight with me to destroy the beach city and these crystal gems. But Jasper's Team Lapis now, so Jasper sees Lapis fighting for Steven, and Jasper betrays Yellow Diamond, and that's the only way they're able to repel them is because of these weird feelings that Jasper has. Yeah, I think that's probably where we're going.
Especially because given this show's like MO of we have to redeem everyone, and everyone is Steven's friend, and that's what's happening. So, and this even goes along with it being Lapis, because Lapis doesn't really like the crystal gems; she just likes Steven, and so it'll like Jasper. They can just come, and there'll be the crystal gems. There'll be this auxiliary unit of people who just love Steven but hate the crystal gems. So we have to start forming that group.
Yeah, without Steven, this group falls apart. But
Yeah, duh.
I think we're not gonna. Of note, episode boarded by Hillary, Kat Morris, who is usually director, and Rebecca Sugar, her first storyboarded episode in a year. And I have the outline, but I don't think we're gonna go through it because I don't know. We talked about it a lot, and there's a lot of stuff.
It's been like a half hour now.
Yeah. I don't know. What else is even worth talking about from this? This was kind of everything. Was this one discussion?
You know what? I feel sad because Greg always he keeps getting stuck with the bill. Like now he has to pay for this bill.
Yeah, I wonder if this is the end of the Greg is rich arc. Does this eat up all his money?
I doubt it, because he got a lot of money, and
this is
they
at
really
least a fifth of it, I would say.
The boat is still the boat is several $1 million. Yeah. But he's still. Though I really love this plot device now that we can just have these stupid things just because I love it. I want this to keep going just a little bit, so we can just have these because we can have really nice, cool plot things that happen on ridiculous things like Greg's yacht. So I'm fine with it. Let's keep going. I don't think it's over.
Yeah.
I don't know what's next, but I'm about this.
I like Lapis not understanding a handshake, but does understand nice to meet you. She has that platitude, but she doesn't have the handshake. Yeah, interesting.
Also, obviously it's part of our larger discussion, but I really did where she's was it don't give me power? And it was whoa, Lapis, let's take a breather. She's yelling.
Yeah. That was we didn't even factor
that was so good.
Yeah. We need a stuff. Part 2 on this one. This is
yes. This is deep stuff.
Deep stuff. But for now, this is. I think we'll call this. I have other things to get to tonight too. And thank you, I don't. Thank you if you do not get mad at me from
Or
listening
me.
to this, or Delaney. I mean, you've credibility with this. People, I'm more likely to get mad at, which is
Well,
fair.
you can get mad, but if you get mad, like just no, you can get mad. It's fine. Your feelings are valid if you get mad. That's
I think
okay,
there's
but-
one bad thing I said earlier, and I think I corrected it. So I hope people listen until I corrected it. But
rage.
Yeah.
Stop.
No,
Yeah.
the discourse is gonna get you, Dylan.
yeah,
The
I mean, there's no
discourse.
winning the discourse.
Sorry.
Everyone knows that. I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's just true.
There's
There is
no
no
winning.
winning. It's not a
Um,
game. It just happens.
In the comment sections, if you want to comment on this, you can at YouTube. You can on the website or on Tumblr. Ask, please be respectful of us and other people. Also, if you're like talking to other commenters, please recognize this is a way more complex
Right.
topic that can be discussed.
No
in
one's
YouTube comments.
one's really right or wrong. Like it's just there's a lot going on here. There's a lot. We can all just agree on that this relationship was bad. Like Malachite, bad news bears, not good.
That is one thing the episode, presented for sure. Yeah, they this definitely ended the opposite of the Garnet in Jailbreak. Like this is the
Right.
bad side of the relationship, right? And this is kind of the conclusion to that arc, I would say.
Probably, yeah. Like
Okay.
what bad fusion can be.
Okay. Tomorrow, be back to discuss probably a very different tonally episode. Greg the babysitter. Yeah, we'll see what we get in that, but this is hard to go from this episode. So we'll see. And there's a lot of stuff next week and stuff. Stick with us here at overlyanimated.com. Support us on patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thank you very much to our patrons, Mitch, Cordell, Beatrice, Nate, Angie, Jamie, Rachel, John, Ryan, Catherine, Taylor, Davon, and Jade, aka FIFA, Rich, Conan, Z, Big Exchange, Nathan, Fillion, Buzz Lightyear, Mailman, Rachel, Jennifer, Albert, Brian, Cook, Cat, Needle, TBD, and Jewel. I almost said Jasper, but I guess that's another J name we could have considered, but yeah. So
It's true.
okay, we'll be back next time.
You know what?
Yes, Sam.
I like that the boat was named SS Misery.
That was pretty good. That's good stuff.
That's how I feel.
A little lappy though. Yeah.
It was SS Misery, and it was
Little
very
Lappy
appropriate.
is a terrible boat name.
Oh yeah. By the
record.
way, Lapis laughing and was the best part of the end.
Yes.
Also Lapis like snort laughed, and in my mind,
Yeah, that was so good.
also in my mind I was like, oh, Lapis's VA can snort. At least someone can snort her.
Oh, excuse me.
Hey!
Excuse me.
That was
man.
literally 0 people understand that. Okay, thank you very much.
Exactly.
I was
Because they
like,
should.
I was like,
because-
someone can
Yeah.
snort. Okay, thank you guys for listening.
You are
Yes.
a terrible person, and I don't like you anymore, and I quit the podcast.
Wow. See what happens next time with that overly animated cliffhanger. Thanks for listening,
Put it on
guys.
tape.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.